So welcome everybody to this wonderful Sunday morning. So we'll just start by lighting the chalice. I have the light.
He has the power.
The light.
But sometimes we walk through a doorway or a season with an idea of change, and we change with it. Life is always a transition of ups and downs. It is always moving, just like our bodies are always getting older, never staying the same. We will look at what this month offers in the way of change, and we will look at some instances of what change is, providing a new opportunity or a chance at walking a new path, which is the theme of today's service. So today is all about walking a new path, and sometimes we are happy with where we are going, so that's fine, but sometimes we're not. And just like the changing of the seasons, life is always moving and changing, and sometimes we have to change with it, or we have to adapt or plan for some eventuality. This service is my thoughts on that, as I plan for changes in my life, and I bring to you a few things which I have already been researching and find more detail about. So I thought it just tied in quite nicely with what I've been doing of late. So, yeah. So before we go much further, we'll go into our first hymn. So we seem to have a bit of a disruption on the music playback, so I'm not sure what that is. So you'll have to bear with me with that one. So I hope this next bit works okay, because I want to play a little video that I came across, and so it's called New Paths, and it describes things quite well on this theme. The problem is what I'm seeing and not saying. I'll just have to leave it like that. And
New paths.
You can't see the pictures.
I've always been someone who stuck to routine. Same bus to work, same grocery store, same quiet evenings at home. My days felt safe, predictable. But safe and predictable can also mean stagnant. Something I didn't realize until a small twist of fate nudged me in another direction. It started on a normal Thursday. I had missed my usual bus by less than a minute. My first instinct was to complain in my head. Now I'd be late, my schedule thrown off. But instead of waiting for the next one, I decided to walk to a different stop a few streets away. It wasn't much, just a small detour, but it felt oddly unfamiliar. The street was lined with little family-run shops I'd never noticed before. Outside a bakery, I saw an elderly man struggling to load bags into his car. Without thinking, I stepped in to help. He smiled, thanked me, and told me the bread inside was baked using his late wife's recipe. Something about the warmth in his eyes stayed with me long after I left. That weekend, inspired by that tiny interaction, I decided to change my grocery shopping routine. Instead of going to my usual supermarket, I visited a local farmer's market. It was busy and colorful. The air filled with the smell of fresh herbs and ripe fruit. I chatted with the vendors, tasted jams I'd never heard of, and even learned how to pick the perfect mango from a farmer who'd been selling them for 40 years. These weren't life-changing events, but they made me realize how much I had been missing by staying on the same narrow track. Over the next few weeks, I began making small, new path choices every day. Instead of eating lunch at my desk, I joined a few colleagues in the break room. One of them shared a career tip that ended up helping me land a new project at work. Instead of taking the elevator, I took the stairs and ended up having short but meaningful conversations with people from other floors. Instead of scrolling on my phone at night, I tried my hand at sketching, something I hadn't done since high school. One small choice led to another, and gradually, those tiny shifts began to ripple through my life. I felt lighter, more curious, more alive. I realized that the problem wasn't that my life lacked opportunity. It was that I kept walking the same mental and physical paths, expecting something different to happen. Then one day, my manager announced an opening for a new position. It wasn't in my original career plan, but something inside me told me to try. I applied, and I got it. It wasn't just a promotion. It was proof that when you dare to step off the worn path, new roads open up, ones you didn't even know existed. Looking back, the change didn't start with a big decision. It started with missing a bus. It started with helping a stranger with his bags. It started with saying yes to something small, over and over again. I've learned that life doesn't always hand you grand opportunities wrapped in shiny paper. Sometimes it gives you a fork in the road so small, you almost miss it. But if you take that unfamiliar turn, you might just discover a whole new world waiting for you. If you want to succeed, you should strike out on new paths rather than travel the worn paths of accepted success. And sometimes, the first step is as simple as walking a different way home.
So that just reminded me a lot of opportunities that I've come across and things that I tried to do, which has provided opportunities moving away from my set everyday path, and which is what led me here right now, which I'll get more into later on. But it's we can be in that groove and just keep going, expecting things to change, or we just make a small change to our routine, and that opens up a whole new world. So opportunities to walk that new path. So I'm going to try. So this September is all about opportunities for change and transition. And this video reminded me that it doesn't take a lot, just a small change, and it can have a big impact on my life. We're going to go more into that in more detail and this month as a month of change, but first we're going to another song. And this is in 273 in the Green Books. In the spring we ploughed our furrows. 273.
Well, the
So one of the things I was looking a little bit more deeply at, obviously, is as we come into autumn, or in some circles we call it Mabon, the autumn equinox, and what that means. So the autumn equinox, which is on the 22nd of September, known as Mabon, is also Abenafed, light of autumn, or light of water in Welsh, by the Druid tradition. Known as the fall of the year, or the fall of the leaf, which is commonly labelled as fall in the US. So the word Mabon was chosen by a prominent Wiccan woman called Aidan Kelly in the 1970s. So it's relatively new, which came as a surprise for me. When it came to rename the autumn equinox, Kelly was inspired by the Greek myth of Persephone, being whisked away from her mother Demeter and living in the underworld for half a year. This caused her mother, a goddess of agriculture, harvest and grain, such immense grief that her form turned barren and lifeless, thus creating the seasons of autumn and winter. So I found it a little bit interesting where all this was going. So it seems the only Celtic story that somewhat fit this archetypal tale was that of a Welsh god called Mabon ap Madron, who was stolen from his mother when he was only 3 nights old and imprisoned in an underwater dungeon where no one had seen or heard of him since. So Mabon is a character in Welsh mythology. His name literally translates to the divine son of a divine mother. This Mabon is scarcely mentioned beyond the singular tale in the Mabinogi, often called the Mabinogion, a medieval collection of Welsh prose from the 11th and 14th centuries. So this is something I went through or read through as part of my training, which I found interesting. I was looking at, well, what is the meaning of these old tales, and what can it teach us? And it sort of escaped me for the most part, to be honest. But cycles go around, and I started looking into it again. So I'd like to try and play this video. I choose a service to play lots of videos when it becomes a bit of a challenge. So the Mabinogi has 4 branches, and it's tales of gods, goddesses, and in a more sort of a human setting, and it really puts more specific focus on the characteristics, the human characteristics. And so this is where we learn from stories. And we see this in many scriptures and in different faith paths. So I just thought it's interesting. So the mythology of Mabon. So I'm going to play this video, hopefully.
Is this really true? Can it be I see in your eyes joy and sadness, mother, I never knew. Now I see the torment and lies, but now this madness is over. Our lives have begun. Your lost child, your son. Is this really true? Can it be all those years ago? So long from me, so how I always knew. Now I see the boy I'll come to know.
Then spoke Pendaran Dyfed, my father's druid. It is true, and you have named your son. Pryderi, son of Pwys Penanwn, suits him well. But maybe the name he had before suits him better, my mother asked. What is his name? Pendaran asked. We named him Guri, of the golden hair, Termo replied. Pryderi shall be his name, said Pendaran Dyfed. My father agreed to name me after the words my mother spoke as the bounds of her cruel and unjust punishment fell away and the joy of finding me was right.
Is this really true? Can it be? Can it be? I'll never let you go. I feel you breathing. Yes, it's really you. And can you see a mare and her foal? Wild and running through green fields, bathed and warmed by the sun. Mother and the man one as one.
So that tale is, well, that was done by Dave the Bard. So he's part of the, I'm pretty sure he's part of the Bards, Ovates and Druid Society. He tells, because he's a bard, he tells stories and sings songs, and he does it for the Mabinogi, which makes it quite entertaining. So that's just a sample from that, which I'd say it's entertaining, but it has these stories. And this story was actually, I think this was Rhiannon who lost her son, and the son was whisked away, I think changing to a foal, and it was she was set up as though she had murdered her son. So she was captured, and she was put in the so where the village was, she was put in the gates of the village, and anybody coming along had to she had to carry them on her back into the centre and tell the tale of how she, that was her penance, tell the tale of what she'd done. So she'd lost her son and she didn't know where he was, and of course that song there telling how somebody found the son and brought him back to change him back to human form. So, it becomes very interesting, and it's all, again, it's like the change of the seasons. It goes into autumn, into harvest. We gain something back. So the Mabinogi primarily features tales about mothers and goddesses who are separated from their sons, who are destined for great leadership as heroes or kings. These tales could have been used in instructing sons of noble lineages on how to conduct themselves as men. It's clear that the stories had existed in the surrounding culture for much longer. So, well, they've been brought together in the 11th century. Some of these tales go way back longer. But somebody had to bring them together, and just like anything else, you lose some of the original intention and what have you. But it's still very interesting and very entertaining. So if you ever feel moved to look in that direction, Dave the Bard, I would suggest he tells the story well. That's all about Mabon, and it was just something which it just come around again for me. It was all about change, and change is something I'm transitioning at the moment, or have been for the last couple of years. So another change at this time of year is academia. It's start of the school year, so from mid-August to early September for those who are in education. So historically, and you might all know this, that historically to align with the end of the agricultural harvest season, allowing children to help with farming duties during the busy summer months and return to school in the autumn. And while farming is no longer the primary reason, the September start has become a tradition providing a natural break after the summer holidays, a period for rest and family vacations, and a convenient point in the year to begin new learning cycles. So the UK's Education Act of 1880 made school compulsory for children between the age of 5 and 10, formalising the pattern of a summer break and a September return to align with the agricultural calendar. So I do a lot of work with Aberdeen University, so I'm an honorary interfaith chaplain there. And so as the academic year starts there, we'll have new students come in, new faces, new people to talk to, and new people that's obviously trying to take on this burden of education. So every Tuesday I have the postgraduate cafe, so these people who are going on to the masters and PhDs, and of course people who are mature students. Which made me wonder, what is a mature student? At what point do you become mature? That student? So when I was 16, I would think people who was 25 was over the hill. And when I was 25, I thought people who was 50 was over the hill, and when I was 50, I thought people 75. It just goes on. So what denotes somebody who's, I've yet to find that out, so it's my own ongoing thing. What becomes a mature student? Of course, I've done started studies later in life. I did my engineering qualifications in my late 40s, maybe early 50s. And I've done other things, late in my years, instead of doing everything in my 20s or whatever. So in many communities, it will be boys of 10 or 13 that would do the shepherding in the higher pastures and be away for days or more at a time. So this is back in the day. So younger children would help in the home looking after their siblings and doing laundry, while older children and parents took on the physical labour. Therefore, in the autumn, as some of the activities wound down, there was time for children to attend school. So we just think it normal and part of our education system now that we go straight into school. Going to nursery and then going to school and then higher education. It seems many years of learning before we get into our work, kind of, that change into work schedules and stuff like that. So we'll go into our next song, which is 46, Breathe on Me, Breath of God, in the Green Books.
Thank
So a part of my work with the university, I put a board up every month, and it's huge. I mean, it's usually to do with a different faith path and whatever celebration is going on at that time. So we're in the month of Elul in Judaism. So 12 months of Jewish calendar year leading to Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, which will be 5785 this year. So we're approaching 6,000 years. And which celebrates the creation of Adam and Eve. It starts at sundown on the 22nd of September and ends after nightfall on the 24th. Elul is traditionally a time of introspection, stock taking, a time to review one's deeds and spiritual progress over the past year. In some ways, this is similar to the beginning of January, where we make our New Year's resolutions, except it's more spiritual. So it's a good opportunity. It's a new year, it's coming into a new year, and we spend, people who follow Judaism spend a month looking into themselves spiritually and taking stock, and I like to think I like to do that on a regular basis, and it makes it quite poignant that you spend this time doing that, and it's a transition just like with the other things that we've just looked at with the autumn, the school starts and stuff like this. So the origins of Elul as a month of special divine grace and mercy go back to the time of Moses in year 2448 from creation. So 1313 BCE, the first year after the Jewish people went out of Egypt. So 7 weeks after the Exodus, the people of Israel received the Torah at Mount Sinai and entered into an eternal covenant with God as his chosen people. Just 40 days later, while Moses was still up in the mountain, they violated a special relationship with God by worshipping a golden calf. So we probably know this story from the Old Testament, in this case the Torah. So upon descending from the mountain and witnessing their transgressions, Moses smashed the 2 stone tablets on which God had inscribed the 10 Commandments. He then returned to Mount Sinai for a second 40 days to plead with God on Israel's behalf. On the early morning of the first of Elul, Moses once again ascended Mount Sinai, taking with him the stone tablets he had hewn by divine command for God to re-inscribe the 10 Commandments. And on the mountain, God allowed Moses to see my back but not my face, which Maimonides interprets as perception of God's reality but not his essence. The closest any human being ever came to knowing God, and taught him the secret of his 13 attributes of mercy, which we see in Exodus. So for the third time, Moses remained on the mountain for 40 days, and from the 1st of Elul until the 10th of Tishri, or Yom Kippur, during which he obtained God's wholehearted forgiveness and reconciliation with the people of Israel. Ever since, the month of Elul serves as the month of divine mercy and forgiveness. So, like in the picture there, the shofar is blown every day in Elul, except during Shabbat in synagogues to wake people up, to remind them that they can change and that this upcoming year can be truly amazing. They say that by listening to the shofar in the deepest way, we can receive a unique heavenly grace in this month that opens gates to the inner world of the beauty and godliness of our own souls. Judaism is full of symbols and symbolism, and they have a ritual for just about everything. But this I found quite a nice, interesting symbol of, it's loud, a shofar, blowing the horn, it's loud, it does wake you up, it makes you think, and if that doesn't make you want to change, then goodness knows. But I thought it an interesting story which tied in with what I was already doing at the university about change. So, 2 seconds. So, more of a personal story. Life has its moments of renewal, changing directions and taking new opportunities. If you were to look back through your lifetime, I'm sure you would have many stories to tell on this theme. So I look back on my lifetime. So obviously I've been doing a bit of stock taking of late. And so if I look back at the beginning, you know, the first big change was being born, coming into the world. Obviously that was a major upset, I can imagine. I don't remember it well, but adolescence was challenging. I'm sure everybody will agree on that. It's like that next stage in life. Starting work and maintaining a job, that was extremely challenging. I thought work was something that you had to endure, not something that could actually bring you any joy. And I lived for years with that thought process. And of course, getting married, that was a big change.
Enduring that.
Enduring that. I'm still doing it, I'm still happily married, so that's wonderful. Having family, again, it becomes a big disruption to what I sort of brought together and what have you. And then moving away from my hometown and making my new home here, that was one of the major changes in my life, which I never regret and always enjoy. My most recent change is when I did the ministry training with One Spirit Foundation. That's what you see on the screen there. So my thoughts and ideas about life are now worn on my sleeve for all to see, and I talk about them freely. I feel more authentic in this transition. It helps me navigate my way through life in a more positive outlook than I have ever had before. Because I speak to many different people, I see the cycles in which people slot themselves into, which teaches me more about life. My latest idea of walking a new path is my adjustment to full-time ministry. I have to plan on letting go of the engineering I did, or that I've done all my life. So at some point, this has to happen, but you know, it all takes planning, and it doesn't happen overnight. So while I'm not doing it in this month, it did give me cause to think, plan, and come up with some positive steps in which to achieve that goal. Because there are a few things I need to do before everything's in place. So nothing's changing in the near future, but while I do this engineering bit, which I've done all my life, that's a few days a week which takes up my time, which I would rather spend doing more of this type of thing and doing all the different things I do at the moment. Maybe I'm doing too many, I don't know, but if I had an extra 3 days, then obviously not a problem. But it caused me to take stock, you know, just recently of how am I going to do that? So I have to plan ahead and you know, I can look at myself financially and how I'm going to support myself. So that takes planning, and it ain't going to happen overnight. I have to look at things like house maintenance. You know, if I only have a small income coming in, how am I going to pay for, like we're doing at the moment, new windows? I wouldn't have that money, so I have to do all them type of things and make sure everything's in place. And I'm still young enough in which to do it, so these are all the plans that I am trying to formulate at the moment. And at the same time, keep my ministry side of things going and all the connections going, which has been really good. I really enjoy that side of the work, and there's lots of rewards personally, spiritually, and I just love it. And this is why I want to do it more. So this is my transition, and this is my changes that I've seen. This is my walk in a new path. And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't had that thought a few years ago, that, I don't know, just over 3, maybe 4 years ago, thinking what am I going to do? And I decided to look at ways I could achieve this transition, and I came across this One Spirit Foundation, and I booked myself onto the course. So I went into education and did that and enjoyed it, thoroughly enjoyed it. I was sad when it ended because it was a lovely time meeting people, like-minded people who were all going through the same thing, all supporting each other. But since then, I have met lots of other like-minded people, and we support each other, just like here we support each other. And it's important to find people who think the same way, who like the same things, who want the same things. It supports us, and we notice when things are not right, and we help each other through whatever changes come. So again, another way of thinking of this month, thinking of changes, and this is what led me to all these things, and I'm looking deeper into what's happened in the past and where I am now. So that's my bit of a personal story. So our last hymn is in the Purple Books, 175, To Seek and Find Our Natural Mind. So we've talked about the changes of the seasons and how they affect us. The start of the academic year and our opportunities for learning. We have acknowledged the passing of the years in the Jewish tradition. This gives us a moment of reflection to witness the changes in our own lives and how we might be grateful for what opportunities come our way. So, I will just turn off the chalice light.